American President Barack Obama is reportedly prepared to authorize airstrikes on Syria. He's set to outline his strategy for dealing with Islamic State jihadists in a public address. Many newspapers have already come out reporting that it could involve bombing jihadist targets in Syria. Now, the White House has ruled out cooperating too with the Syrian government, meaning, therefore, any strikes would have to be carried out without permission from Damascus. The Speaker for the House of Representatives says that America indeed has got the right to do so.
I think that we need to be going after the terrorist threat wherever it is. And anyone that thinks this is just an Iraq-Syria issue is not paying much attention to what's happening around the world. You know, Rand Corporation came out over the summer and talked about the fact that there are twice as many terrorists now involved in terrorist activities than there were the day the president took office. There's a serious threat here that has to be dealt with on many levels.
Well, earlier, America's closest ally expressed its agreement. UK PM David Cameron said Bashar al-Assad's government was illegitimate and hence the West is not obliged to ask for permission if it wants to send its military planes into the country's airspace. Let's talk about this with political analyst William Dores now to pick it apart a bit further and what might be happening. Hi there, you're live on RT. Thanks for being with us. Ahead of Obama's speech, which is coming up in a few hours' time, we think that he's going to authorise direct attacks on jihadists in Syria. Do you think that is what is going to be on the cards?
I think that's exactly what's on the task. I think that Washington, the White House and the Pentagon are preparing to engage the United States in a wider war in the Arab region. And last year, when the United States was threatening to attack Syria, there was tremendous opposition both in the United States and around the world. So now they're trying to come into the back door, and in this situation, the so-called Islamic State, which is funded by allies of the United States, is playing the role of an agent provocateur.
Well, it's deeply worrying a lot of people, amongst them Russia. This is what Russia had to say about it just in the last couple of days. This is the Foreign Secretary.
There are fears these strikes could not only target Islamic militants, but also the Syrian army, to weaken Assad's position. That would amount to a colossal escalation of the conflict in the Middle East and North Africa.
Sergei Lavrov there. Do you agree with those worries?
I agree with that. I think the United States has not changed from its objective of overthrowing the government of Syria, the way it overthrew the government of Iraq, with the goal of endless conflict and war in the region to justify a continued U.S. military presence and to drive up the profits of U.S. arms manufacturers and U.S. oil companies. Let's remember, in 2003, the United States, the Pentagon created something called the Strategic Support Command. It was a secret unit. The Washington Post and other media wrote about this, whose stated purpose was to infiltrate terrorist groups, prompt them into action, and to create new terrorist groups, all allegedly for the purpose of undermining terrorism. But in fact, what you're getting is a situation like Zbigniew Brzezinski said in his book, The Grand Chessboard, of get the barbarians, which is the way the U.S. Political establishment views the rest of the world, fighting each other.
So let me just get this straight. Do you think this was more of a long-term plan? And ISIS could have been seen to have been coming as part of that. It's really no surprise.
It's no surprise at all. Remember, ISIS, what became ISIS, was introduced into Iraq shortly after the SSC plan I mentioned, to destabilize the Iraqi resistance to the United States invasion and to create a sectarian war in Iraq. That was facilitated by Saudi Arabia. There is no daylight between the U.S. and the Saudis on this. They have a common objective. The Saudis want to maintain their central position in the world oil market, and the United States wants to keep Saudi oil money flowing into the pockets of into U.S. banks and into the pockets of U.S. arms manufacturers. And the destruction of Iraq and the civil war in Syria, which was promoted and created with the support of the United States and Saudi Arabia, all play into this objective.
William, thanks for your thoughts. William Dores there, political analyst. Thanks for being on RT.